want to speak about Kulthum.
We are talking about her this week because on the 3rd of February, it's 50 years since she died.
The reason why she is so beloved and a really important figure in the Arab world is because at that time, it was the Arab world generally was trying to understand how to hold on to its traditions, but also be a modern nation, part of global conversation, like this idea of pan-Arabism. And she really exemplified that in a very mainstream pop culture way through music.
She's kind of like, imagine Adele, Mariah Carey, all of those people is wrapped up into one, but like almost like a political figure on top of all of that. And she represented so much of Egypt. She's an Egyptian woman. She learned to sing by like dressing up as a boy and reciting the Quran. And yeah, like super feminist. And then she became so powerful in Egypt because everybody adored her for her stunning voice. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Emirates Literature Festival.
A new documentary by Mansour.
And the 50th anniversary of Kulthum's passing.
This is Culture Bites coming to you from the National News. I'm Enas Refaei.
I'm Farah Andrews.
And I'm Maan Jalal.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
How was Copenhagen?
I had a very nice time.
I've got a scoop.
She's got...
I've got a scoop. Do you know why she was in Copenhagen?
No, actually, I don't. I thought it was just a...
Well, she was just on her holidays.
Yeah.
And I'm now going to spoil her news because now... Guess.
No, I don't want to guess in case
She's engaged.
No, you're really, Farah. Oh my God, I was going to guess that. Congratulations. Why didn't you say anything?
See, it's a scoop.
Oh my God.
All the producers are clapping.
God,
everyone
Farah,
is
I had
jumping.
no idea. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Oh, beautiful. You've been talking about the food and the fish. Who cares? This is more important.
I love the
food
fact
and
that
the
we
fish.
got the reaction on Culture Bites. Everybody.
Oh, that's so cute.
I didn't notice.
Would you actually look at
How can you not notice?
Beautiful. Oh my God, congratulations.
Stunning
I'm
ring.
so happy for you.
It's
Well done,
ridiculous.
Eddie.
Eddie did wonderful things.
He's got fantastic taste.
Man of taste, man of taste.
And we know that. But yeah.
Were you completely shocked?
Yeah.
Aww.
It was a surprise. It was nice, yeah.
Is there video footage?
No, no. We were just like in a park and we went for a walk and we were just, and then there were other people around for parts of it, so he kept on kind of like detouring. And then when we were by ourselves, he like was like, okay, we'll stay here for a bit. And I was like, well, it's kind of cold, so it's like, keep walking. And he was like, stand still. And I was like, wait, what if we keep walking? And then I eventually was like, oh.
I must stand
I will
still.
stay still.
I will stand still.
Is that because he pulled out all 4 names?
Yeah. I've got four names, and so he full named me, and then had a jewelry box in his hand, and I was like, oh damn.
So that's the scoop of the week.
That is the best scoop. That's the best news. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you guys.
Thank you.
beautiful.
And what a special thing to share with our Culture Bites audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with
So
us.
happy.
I'm glad you guys didn't tell us. You guys got me slamming the paper on the table.
That was when Enas, you were like, I don't want to guess in case I'm wrong.
I was so scared. Imagine if I had said it and it wasn't that.
I was like, no. I went to Noma. I would be celebrating that too. I didn't go to Noma.
It's okay, next time. We can't have it all, Farah.
We can't.
We can't have it all. So today we're going to be talking about the Emirates Literature Festival. And who better to discuss this than our bookworm?
Hi, yes, it is happening. Well,
I feel like you're moving in. You're moving down there.
Yes, basically next week I will be there all 4 or 5 days. So it's on from the 29th of Jan to the 3rd of Feb at the Dubai Festival City Intercontinental Hotel. And there are so many very cool things happening. There is more than 150 events, and which includes talks and workshops and activities and poetry recitings and a couple of competition announcements. So there's lots of things to do, not just if you're a book reader or a bookworm, but for the whole family. There's like really great crafts and really great shows. And there's food as well. There's like some, what do you call them? Food trucks.
And it's not just like Arabic literature, it's English literature too, right?
Yeah. There's some really cool authors from the region. And there's also some coming from international, from the UK and the US. And also there is, if you're a budding writer and you want to learn about writing, there's lots of great workshops. There's editing workshops. There's some competitions. There's lots of stuff.
Very exciting. So,
Do you want to talk us through some of the... Well, you've identified some of the highlights.
Yes. So I'm really excited to go see I'm going to hold my prop here. This wonderful author, Abraham Verghese, I think that's how you pronounce his name, The Covenant of Water. Now, this book was hugely popular in 2023. It was one of Oprah's book club list picks.
Oh, this was also one of your recommendations.
Yes, it was.
I still haven't read it.
It's a very
It's chunky.
It's a chunky book, and it's so he's going to be here. Even if you haven't read the book, I suggest you go and listen to him talk. I mean, he's not going to give any spoilers away. The book is about three generations of a family living in Kerala in India, and how there is something really odd in the family that in every generation somebody dies via drowning.
Oh, I remember you talking about this book. It has a very, very, very impactful opening passage.
Yes, it does indeed, and it's also like a story about India at that time. So that's really one of the great sessions I'm looking forward to. Another one is, we all know Lemony Snicket.
Yes.
So he's going to be there.
Oh, and that's huge. A lot of children,
huge.
like a series of unfortunate events is
yes.
the famous series from him.
13 novels. But even if you haven't seen the books, you've probably seen the movie and or the show on Netflix.
Yeah, the movie's great.
Yes.
Really good. And I think a lot of children are going down there as well, because there's also the writer of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yes, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is like so incredibly popular. And that's one of the like bigger sessions that are happening.
I saw as well, there's a special focus always in the Middle East around poetry. And one of my favourite poets, Nazar Qabbani, Endless Love. So the Syrian poet and writer whose work is really well known. And there's going to be a theatrical interpretation of his poetry.
So his poetry, which is super famous, has been turned into lots of songs and inspired lots of plays and shows. So they're doing a special performance where actors and poets are going to perform some of his most famous pieces. He's very famous because he's one of the most innovative poets who sort of broke away from the traditional way of performing and writing poetry. It's kind of like free verse in the Arabic world, which is like shocking at the time. And was a very political writer. He was also like one who wrote a lot of love poetry. So his poetry is very evocative and very sort of like emotional.
Khalidi Sahir sung a lot of his poetry. He's a very famous Iraqi singer.
Yes.
So I'm a huge fan actually of Nazar Qabbani.
Yeah, he has a really interesting history in the region, and he's just really, really important. Another really important author who's being celebrated at the Lit Fest is one of my favorite authors of all time, Jane Austen, of course.
Yes.
So it's her 250th anniversary of her birth. She was born December the 9th, I believe.
That is something that's been in our it's like inner workings of the team, but like in our editorial calendar to be like, we need to cover this. So I'm so glad that it's going to be celebrated here at the Lit Fest this year.
I'm excited because the woman Laaleen Sukhera, who's going to be leading the talk on Jane Austen at the Lit Fest, she is of Pakistani heritage, and a couple of years ago she edited an anthology called Austenstan, which she got Pakistani writers to each write a short story based around Austen themes. That. It's wonderful. So it's a great way to merge, the region and this, great classic author that we all know. So she's going to be leading a talk about the legacy and the life and the influence of Jane Austen in the Lit Fest.
And it's not just fiction, right?
What do you mean?
The literature festival?
No, it's not just fiction. Yeah. There's lots of nonfiction sessions and books happening. So the one that's really interesting that caught my eye is Zainab Badawi, who is I think Sudanese origin journalist and broadcaster. And she's written a book called An African History of Africa. So she's written an African history from the lens and perspective of Africa and what that means for Africans and how we should be looking at the continent, not just from the sort of the colonial gaze, but from within Africa. So she is having a session on that.
Fascinating. She's a fantastic broadcaster. I'm such a fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And something that I am also very excited about, this is like something that happens at the Lit Fest every single year. They bring in chefs and cookbook writers. So there's always like so many. Like I remember my first one that I attended, I interviewed like Bobby Chin. So there's like always like a bit of a culinary presence at the festival. And this year we have got Palestinian chef Fadi Kattan, who is going to be there. We've spoken about him on the podcast. We've spoken about his new cookbook, Bethlehem. And so he is going to be hosting something called the Bethlehem Banquet, where he's hosting a dinner and conversation where he's going to talk about his personal journey and how he is celebrating Palestinian culture through food. So I've got a feeling that it's going to be one of the almost definitely sold out evenings, but it's taking place on February the 1st, which is extremely exciting and it's happening this weekend.
God, there's just so much to look forward to. And this is all happening this weekend from Friday all
Thursday.
Oh, sorry, from Thursday. Oh,
Yeah.
beg your pardon.
One more thing
Maybe
I'll
actually
mention.
not even Thursday. I think it might be Wednesdays, 29th.
Wednesday night it starts.
Yeah, it starts on the
but then-
29th.
Yeah.
So 29th all the way through to the 3rd of Feb. And it's being held at the Dubai Festival City.
Mm-hmm.
Can I mention just one more thing?
Go on then.
We all love a murder mystery, right?
Guilty.
Yes. So All That Glitters is a murder mystery, and they're getting some locally based actors and performers to do a murder mystery themed night where you go, and it's slightly based, I've heard, on Dubai Bling, in that it's like not Dubai Bling characters, but it's like that's why it's called All That Glitters.
It's incredibly uncomfortable. That is your birthday. And I would not like to ditch you, but I might.
So that the cast will be sort of performing in front of, I guess, the guests, and one of them will be murdered.
I went to the Whodunit at the Lit Fest last year. It was based on kind of 1920s hotel, and you had to dress up in 1920s wear.
Oh, cool.
And so this year, I guess we dress up as Dubai Bling characters.
Yeah, basically.
That would basically be like my dream event. Oh, well.
So that's why when I say
Can't
there's something for everyone, there's literally something for everyone at the festival.
There really is.
Literary.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this week, I'm sure you guys all know that Cinema Akil is having its Reel Palestine Film Festival.
Sure do.
Yep. So I got to speak to Mansour and Muna Khalidi, who are director and producer of a documentary that we spoke about last week, A State of Passion. So I got to sit down and speak with them about it, and you'll see in the interview what we talked about. But I just want to say that there's two screenings coming up this weekend, February the 1st and 2nd, of the documentary. On February the 1st, Carol and Muna will be there, and they will be having a Q&A after, so definitely check that out if you can. But also there's February 2nd, you can also check out a screening of the film there, so yeah. We are here at Cinema Akil to talk about a new documentary, A State of Passion, with the filmmakers Carol Mansour and Muna Khalidi.
We had hundreds of hours of genocide, basically. And we had to pick what was not very, grotesque. And at the same time...
not sugarcoat.
Yeah, not sugarcoat, exactly.
This is an important documentary that follows the experiences of Dr. Ghassan Abu Sittah in Gaza's emergency rooms. The film is part of the Reel Palestine Film Festival that's happening here in Cinema Akil in Al Sirkal Avenue until February the 2nd. So join us while we sit down with Carol and Muna, who have been working together for almost 13 years on a number of amazing documentaries, and we discuss not only the process of creating such an intense, important documentary, but also the challenges of funding something like this and the important message behind a story. So congratulations on the premiere of this film in Dubai, and I think it's also been screened in Jordan and Cairo. Can you tell us about the feedback and the reaction that you got from people who have seen the film?
Overwhelming response. Everybody says it's a very important documentary. Funny, touching, sad. This is basically,
I think we're most happy that people get the message. Like they get the message behind the film, and it's not only a portrait of a person. So they understand the message of it, and whenever we get that kind of feedback, we immediately share it with Ghassan, with Dr. Abu Sittah, and he's always happy that they got the message, and he's happy. Oh, they understood it's not about me. So it's.
So I want to ask then about that message. When did this project for you guys start, and did you know what you were aiming to do as you were beginning, or was it an organic thing that was happening that changed, or was it a bit of both?
it was organically, no script. 7th of October happened. We were eager to do something. We didn't know what. And then Ghassan went to Gaza and sent a message, I'm on my way. And he started sending voice notes. We were in touch with him. And the day he left, he said, I'm going for 24 hours to Amman. So sent a message to Muna. Muna looked at me, yeah, let's go. 5 hours later, we were on a plane, and the first interview outside the media was with us, basically. at 11 p.m. until 2 a.m. He was exhausted, but it was important to catch the first moment he went out of from Gaza. And this is how it happened, basically.
Super organic, zero planning. We just knew that we had to do it. We just knew that there was an opportunity to tell the world what was happening. Ghassan is a very eloquent speaker. He is somebody he's been in touch with the reality, with what's happening, but he also has this amazing skill of formulating and contextualizing. And we felt that we needed to, as we were close to him, we had the opportunity to get him to talk. And we felt this is one thing we can do and we need to pursue it.
So the documentary combines a lot of, very harrowing scenes and news footage, but also really intimate moments of Dr. Ghassan with his family. How did you balance those two different ways of telling stories into the film?
I think it was important not to only show what was happening in Gaza, because you see this on the news. It was important to have another perspective. And I think the personal and the overall mixed very well. The personal was to show how much he is dedicated, how much his family is dedicated, what makes him tick, what makes him, go every time there is a war in Gaza. So I feel it was important to mix both. It would have been like a reportage if he was not in the film.
We wanted to move away from a very factual telling of the story. You can find that anywhere. More into delving into what makes a Palestinian do this. What is it about being Palestinian that would make you risk so much over and over and over? What is it about being of that mindset that would make you happy that your father has gone? I mean, it's not about him only, it's about this whole issue of identity. And this is what we wanted to bring out, like what it means to people who are at the receiving end of.
And then Dima's story, his wife, who is from Gaza, it was important also to weave it into the film.
As both directors and producers, how did you manage to be very involved in the story, especially in the editing room, but also, because it's a very personal story, but also think like directors and producers and think about the audience and the message of the film without getting too emotional or too involved in the story?
At the beginning we had a 3-hour cut because he's funny, Dima is funny, he has so much to tell, he's very deep, the difficult part was to cut it down to 1 hour and a half, so everything could have stayed. It's important to mix funny and serious, so people, it's not.
And also, it's I think neither of us is very young, so yes, part of it is, if you like, experience rather than instinct. And this would pass. This shouldn't pass. This would give the wrong message. That if I use this clip, I might need 5 more minutes to explain why it's appropriate. So sometimes you just have to make a decision to take something out because it might take you in the wrong track.
And you said something really interesting before we started filming about how when you were in the audience, I think you said in Jordan, sometimes when you felt that people felt a bit strange to laugh at some parts?
Yes, I think it's too close to home maybe, and they feel it's inappropriate to laugh, but we and Ghassan beg to differ. There is always, he says it in the film, he says, I never found a contradiction between the comic and the tragic. They often coexist, and this is life.
What do you hope people will take away when they watch this film? What do you want them to experience or think or feel?
Many things, actually. Keep talking about Gaza, keep talking about Palestine, do something if you can. We're working on an impact campaign, with the big website and many, activities. No, we don't want people to just watch the film and go home and say, "Oh my God, I cried all the way." No. We want to move people, yes. And we want to move people, especially not in our area. Our area, everybody is with Palestine. You know, it's abroad, the West. We want the film to go outside our circle.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the crowdfunding and the challenges of funding this film? It must have been very touching to see a lot of people wanting to contribute to see the story come to life.
We started with no funding. We went to Jordan, I went to London, I filmed him, went to Kuwait, filmed him, and we knew that we will get funding, basically, because people are eager to see something like this. We had 3 small fundings from institutions, but the rest was really people we know, people we don't know. So people who worked for free, people who Amal Mathlouthi offered her song at the end, people who worked and said we will be paid later. So
it seems that like the whole war on Gaza galvanized something within the community, and there was a sense of community work during this global community doing while we were making this film. I mean, of course, we knew 50% of the people, some one way or the other, who contributed, but another 50% we have no idea who they are. Just people who heard about it and thought, okay, this is a story that needs to come out.
Without giving any spoilers, and with potentially the terror in Gaza, becoming worse, how did you know when to end this film? When did it feel like it was the right moment?
It was difficult to find because it was ongoing. So at the end of the film, we asked him, how do you want this film to end?
Don't give it away.
I won't give it away.
Yeah. Watch the film.
Watch the film, exactly. But it's a hopeful note at the end.
It's a hopeful note,
yeah.
Which is important.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. That was a great segment. Thanks for that, man.
No worries. Great
Loved
film.
it.
Yeah. And that's at Cinema Akil.
Yes, Cinema
for anybody
in
who-
Esrikal Avenue.
Beautiful for anyone who wants to head down there. So next we want to speak about Kulthum.
Such an important cultural.
I wish I had like a hanky and
Yeah,
some
handkerchief.
sunglasses.
That's how she used to sing with our handkerchief.
Yeah.
Which one of you would like to give the kind of like 1 minute rundown of who she is and how important she is and why we're talking about her now?
I will. So she's kind of like, imagine Adele, Mariah Carey, all of those people is wrapped up into one, but like almost like a political figure on top of all of that. And she represented so much of Egypt. She's an Egyptian woman. She learned to sing by like dressing up as a boy and reciting the Quran. And yeah, like super feminist. And then she became so powerful in Egypt because everybody adored her for her stunning voice and the way that she hit notes off notes, similar to the oud, you don't know, the very classical Arabic instrument. And because of all of this, she became super, super powerful. And it got to the point where even the president of Egypt would call her up and inform her of decisions he was making.
Yeah, very important figure. Yeah,
Very
people would
important
sell
figure.
their furniture just to go to her concert if she was going to Iraq or Kuwait or whatever. She was like a big.
So she so beloved.
So beloved.
And we are talking about her this week because
Yes.
on the 3rd of February, it's 50 years since she died.
50 years since she died. And I think that it's like somebody like Kulthum, she's become, I think in the Middle East, especially like, with everything that's happening here at the moment, she's become almost like that kind of pop art character. Okay. Like you will see visions of her in like Arabic artwork because she is seen as this kind of like figure. I'm trying to remember, like almost like how Andy Warhol used Marilyn Monroe. I think artists use Kulthum.
She's very identified.
Yes.
Like she had a look,
Yes,
right?
she
You
had a
said about the
specific
sunglasses and
and the handkerchief and kind of like a beehive hair.
Yeah.
So if you see that around and you've always been like, I wonder who she is, she's Kulthum. And if you are a lover of Kulthum music, then you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
And so this week, the Maan and his colleagues have done a bit of a deep dive into her history and the kind of like
Her legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've written a very in-depth article where we focus on different, her history, her music, her influence on art. And I think one of the major takeaways from that is the reason why she is so beloved and a really important figure in the Arab world is because at that time, it was the Arab world generally was trying to understand how to meld or how to hold on to its traditions, but also be a modern nation, part of global conversation, like this idea of Pan-Arabism. And she really exemplified that in a very mainstream pop culture way through music, right? So she, like you said, she was trained on how to recite the Quran in the very classical way. So she had I think the word is like annotations and the cadence that's like very classically trained. But then she took Western influences of using a whole full orchestra in her performances and also took influences from modern Arab writers and poets. So she combined all of those things. And so for the average person, they saw her as a beacon of light of she's everything that is traditional, rooted in our region, but she's not forsaking it to be modern, to be Western. She's all of that in one. And that's why I think she draws people still now like think of her as like this important figure that was so hopeful, but also so rooted in history. So which is really interesting, I think.
Tell me, when you were both growing up, was her music and like her story something that was like spoken about and like enjoyed at home? Did you like really, was she like a presence?
Yeah, totally. I think that like her and like other classical singers, almost of the same era. So you have like Fairuz, Abdul Halim and Hafiz. These singers were kind of like seen as the voice of that era of hope that was so prevalent in the 60s, where we had like a huge influx of like Arabic cinema and Arabic cinema really pushing the boundaries of what people were consuming at that time. And this idea, as Maan said so eloquently, of modernity hitting the Middle East, but also having this like deep rootedness in the cultural structures that we live within.
Yeah. And if you just forget about the cultural focus of her. Just as a musician and a performer, she was very revered. Like in my family, my parents were obsessed. Like whenever like new singers would come up, like Amr Diab or Nancy Ajam, who would try and do a cover, they'd be like, "Well, okay, let's see. You want to do a cover of Umm Kulthum? Let's see if you can do it." You know, there's this attitude that you never touch a Kulthum song because it's like poetry. And by the way, her performances, some of them, her songs, are like 20 minutes long. It's not like a 3-minute thing, you know?
I remember once complaining to my father about how long they were.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Dad, the intro just goes on, doesn't it?
Was he like, get out?
And he was just a bit like, I don't think you understand the art.
You've embarrassed yourself.
It was just like, I think maybe you should stop talking.
You need to think about what you've just said.
Yeah.
And actually, she's also, some of her music has been sampled by a lot of Western artists. Beyonce's, what is it? Da-da-na girl, I'm not gonna sing.
Absolutely obsessed with what's happening.
Yeah, let's leave that in the edit.
Yeah, no. So
If I
Beyonce's,
find out that got cut.
Beyonce's, is it Naughty Girl?
Probably,
There's
yeah.
a-
Yes.
there's a-
So
yeah.
that takes samples
that
from
is.
Kulthum. Jay-Z, Bob Dylan's taken samples apparently as well. So her and
It's a
Chemical
legacy that
Brothers.
very much lives on.
yes,
Very
yes.
much. And I think a lot of artists you'll see do take, like, you know, it's not just about it's her style, the way she sang on those notes was just so unique at the time that it's just, you know, held a space now.
Holding space.
Holding a space.
But she still, sorry,
That's okay,
I cut
go.
you off. There's like these, I mean, obviously she's an artist that you both have such like tangible connections to. And we still see it now. Like she's had like hologram shows.
Yes.
Here in the UAE and around the world. And so there is still like this enormous audience that want to come and see. I mean, the only other band I can think of that are doing that is ABBA.
but pretty much.
And so it's like to be able to...
I was going to say, like, do you remember when Beyonce covered Jolene?
Yeah.
And everyone was just shuddered slightly because they were like, Dolly Parton did that. Like,
Yeah,
we
you
don't
don't
need to
need
do
to
that
do that.
again.
The new lyrics weren't for me.
Just don't touch it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of the whole of Kulthum's catalogue.
Right.
I think everyone's just like, just don't. No.
And there are like obviously complexities with like the artist's estate and those kind of like broader conversations and like whether or not we want people after they die to kind of like still be working on but then there's like also like the pure joy of still being able to enjoy those performances that is it's such a it's a real knife's edge balance there, isn't it?
And I think for a lot of Arabs, going to experience her like as a hologram, it connects them to their parents and their grandparents and
Yeah.
this idea of mainstream pop culture identity in the Arab world. Like they feel like her image, like you said, it's very recognizable, is very much part of being Arab in a way. Like if you have Kulthum, I don't know, keychain or her portrait on your bag or something, it means that you are part of that world. And I just want to talk a little bit about the artists because that have used her image, which is so iconic, to say things about society. So, for example, there is the Egyptian-Armenian artist Chant Avedissan, who his really, really important series of work of stencils. He took not just Kulthum, but like Farid al-Attash, another singer, and Fairuz, and he stenciled them in these big works of art to say about to make commentary on nostalgia and memory in the Arab world. So his image of Kulthum became very popular because he was one of, I think, the first artists that used her in modern art. And then you have artists, the sculptor and painter Adam Hnayan, who's a sculptor who did these sculptures of her in bronze, but they're very stylized and they look very minimalist, but he also was influenced by ancient Egyptian pharaohs. But the minute you see it, I mean, there's no features on the sculpture, you'll know it's her because she's holding her handkerchief and she has the bun and her dress. And so again, he wanted to make a point about using her as a way to speak about what it means to be Arab and Egyptian. And beyond Egypt, there's Palestinian authors, Syrian authors. I spoke to one visual artist, Huda Lutfi, who used Kulthum's image and changed it. She would make her look like the Lady Liberty of New York, or make her look like the Buddha. Yeah, to talk about as an access point for the average Arab person to be like, oh, I know Kulthum. Wait, what is this work about? And then she can talk about social issues or feminist issues using that very recognizable figure of Kulthum.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So interesting. And she also has a bit of a rooted moment
Yeah.
in the UAE.
She certainly does.
And you know about it.
I was not there. But, so in 1971, she was invited by the UAE founding father, the late Sheikh Zayed, to perform in Abu Dhabi for his 5th anniversary as the ruler of Abu Dhabi, and then also to mark the union of the UAE. And so what a
Wow.
significant event to have performed at.
Yeah.
I heard that she came out of retirement a bit to sing that, but I don't know if that's true.
Oh.
I need to do some research. I should have done some research before I came to the... But I do know that she was gifted at the time
Yeah.
a pearl necklace
Yeah.
from a family here. And it went back to her estate, obviously. And then after her passing, they brought it back to Abu Dhabi. And it is actually in the Louvre collection.
Oh, wow.
That's so beautiful.
So, yeah, the pearl necklace is absolutely stunning. I don't know if it's on show at the moment, but keep an eye out for it because it's really pretty.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song of hers?
I can't think of one off
You've
the top of
stolen
my
my
head.
next question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Omri?
Yeah, that's one of her most. You Are My Life. It's one of
Yeah.
her most famous songs. I like Al Amal, the Hope, which is like a really beautiful song. And we have this very popular song that we have written here, Alf Layla Layla, which is 1001 Nights, based on the famous book.
Well,
yeah.
No,
It's like
Fable.
folk story.
Fable.
Yes,
Fable.
yes.
There we go. Oh, well, that's lovely. Well, let's go on to our recommendations now.
Let's talk recommendations.
So recommendations.
It's recommendations time. We'll finish with them.
So my recommendation of the week, I've got a prop, is Girl, Woman, Other, and it's by Bernardine Evaristo.
Yeah.
I think her name is. She's actually, she's.
She was here last year for the Lit Fest.
Yes, she was.
I met her. She's very lovely.
She comes across really lovely whenever I've seen her in interviews. And this story is a collection of stories that it's all fiction, but it's based on like Black women's experiences in London. I have had this on my bedside table for way too long. This book came out in 2017. I'm terrible. You can all judge me.
No, we read it at leisure. It's not a race.
Yeah, that's what we're going to say. So it was the winner of the Booker Prize in 2019.
She won it with Margaret. Oh my God, what's wrong with me?
Atwood.
Atwood, yeah.
Margaret
it was a
Atwood,
dual,
yeah.
Yeah, it was
the
the
Dual
dual
win.
one.
It was a dual win, and it both quite feminist pieces. This book has been really nice, really digestible because it's just very short stories and all the characters kind of intertwine with each other. But what I've really enjoyed about it is the fact that it's all in London. Yeah. And I don't want to go back at the moment because it's cold and it's rainy and I live in the UAE. But it's quite nice to dip my toe into the London scene.
Get your London fix.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful, beautiful book, and it does talk about all the different facets of womanhood so eloquently. I love it.
I mean, I've just finished reading the part about motherhood, which resonated.
Yeah. Do you want my recommendation?
Yes, I do. I'm looking at you.
Hi. My recommendation is The Jinx. It's so on brand for me. Are you guys familiar with it?
No, I'm not. Actually.
Are you being sarcastic?
No. What is
my
The
gosh.
Jinx?
Okay, so The Jinx was an HBO true crime series about Robert Durst, who is from a very rich real estate family in the US, and there were 3 people in his life who died and he was accused of it. So in series 1, which was out in 2015.
Sorry, so is this documentary or it's a fictional?
It's a documentary series.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in 2015, this series came out, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the last minute of that docuseries is
I've seen this.
mad.
Yeah, I've seen this now. When he's in the toilet. He's in
Yeah.
the bathroom. Yeah, okay, I've seen this.
So it's a very,
Watch it.
very
Watch
compelling
it.
ending. And so then, now, I didn't even know it existed, but there's a series 2.
About him?
About the same guy. And so it kind of goes into, he actually died. He died in 2022, I believe. And this second series came out in 2024, last April. And I watched it this week. It's available on Apple TV Plus if you want to find it here in the UAE. And it goes into the crimes he was accused of, then he went back on trial, how he kind of created this cult of person. He was basically so charming and manipulative and witty, and people met him and they were like, he might be a murderer, but he's pretty sound.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, people seem to die around him, but I quite like him. He's funny. And then he was a very old man when he was on trial, so everyone was like, oh, he's a sad little vulnerable man. So I was like, but he might have killed 3 people. I'm using a lot of allegedly language. He was eventually convicted, but that's not a spoiler because
He's
it's
dead now.
life, and he is also dead now. But what I found so fascinating about series 2 is this kind of cult of people that he had around him that basically kept the lie alive.
That's
And I devoured it. It's 6 episodes.
on Apple?
It's available on Apple. It's an HBO series in the US. So it might also be on
OSN.
OSN Plus. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yourself,
Okay.
sir.
Myself, I have a book, The Beast and the Bethany. So the author is called Jack Megett Phillips. He's going to be at the Emirates Lit Fest, so I thought it would be good to talk about one of the books I read of his. It's a great book for young adults and the whole family, actually. It's about a man who's 512 years old, and the reason he's been living for so long is because he has a monster in his house that he feeds the monster whatever the monster wants. And one day the monster says, I want a child, feed me a child. So the man goes and finds a child who is the neighborhood prankster, who is Bethany. And he was like, right, I'm going to feed it to the monster so I can live for another 500 years. But what happens instead, because Bethany is so charming, she and the monster become friends. And then you see stuff happening after. So I'm not giving anything away. But what I love about this book particularly is that it's written in very, very dark way. It's very Roald Dahl-ish in how it's written.
Nice.
So it's very intriguing, and kids love dark stories. So,
100, yeah.
So definitely read it and try or grab a copy and head over to the Lit Fest. You can meet the author there, get it signed, and yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Recommendation.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
And if you like this episode, please follow and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app.
And don't forget to tell all your friends about us and to follow us on Instagram.
See you next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.